Again. So good morning, Andrea, and thank you to everyone who's watching, who's joining us. We're starting the series to talk to school leaders across New York State around the problems of practice they're encountering transitioning from a brick and mortar school to an educational continuity plan that sees students either engaged in remote learning, self-directed learning at home, or teacher-guided learning. I'm joined today by Andrea Todoro, who's the school leader at the West Buffalo Charter School in Buffalo, New York. Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your school?
Good morning. Yes. So I am the founding school leader. So I've been at the school for 8 years now, since we opened. We are currently a K-8 operation with 508 students. We are located on the west side of Buffalo, as you said. We have an extremely diverse population. About 30% of our students are English as a new language. 20% of our students are students with special needs. And then we have about 92% of our students are economically disadvantaged. But yet, even with demographics like that, we are a high performing school. Our teachers and our students work really hard. So this has been interesting to shift from what we knew as our normal routine to what we're now doing as our new normal.
Thank you. And Andrea, in this COVID-19 crisis, how are your families and students and staff holding up in general?
Things actually have been pretty good. We started talking about this possibility almost a month ago and communicating with our families about what would happen if the school were to close. And at that time, we weren't sure if it was 24 hours or if it was going to be an extended period. And I think a lot of our families, and I can speak, for our staff as well, felt comfort in just knowing that we were thinking about it and that if it happened, we had a plan in place. So that calming effect of knowing that if this does indeed become reality, we are ready for it and we can tackle it together. That seemed to keep people in a good place. And then once the plan actually came into fruition and we had to act on what we had set, it was amazing on that first day watching it kind of unveil, and the feedback that we got from families and teachers has been phenomenal, actually.
Thank you. So talking about that plan, can you give us a broad overview of what your school is doing regarding your continuity of education and the plan that you actually put together?
Sure. So about 3 weeks ago, we had surveyed our families just to see who had access to the internet, who had devices at home. And again, like I said, just telling them that in case we had to move to in remote learning, what are your options? So that started a while back. And then our finance and operations officer and I actually met behind closed doors to kind of brainstorm what we would do in the event that we had to move to remote instruction. It was just the two of us. That seems to be, the best way to kind of just get ideas flowing. We developed what we thought was a comprehensive plan at that point. Then we met with our IT staff to see if what we had dreamed up as the plan was actually feasible. And we talked to them about platforms. Our school moved to a Google environment about 2 years ago. So we did have the advantage of already having Google Classroom set up and some teachers that were well versed in using it. So there wasn't as much of a learning curve of, trying to do it for the first time. A lot of our teachers were already using Google Classrooms. And then from there, we met with the other admin and talked about what the plan would be, and then started rolling it out slowly to teachers. So I thought it was probably the most effective to meet with teachers in small groups. First of all, when you get a large group together, some people aren't comfortable asking questions. And, also when you get a large group together, they might not hear everything you're saying. So we did do grade level team meetings and department team meetings. And I talked with the teachers about what the remote instruction plan would look like. So it's pretty much a combination of a bunch of different strategies. In K2, we created teacher learning packets, and I had asked the staff to take a look at where we were in our modules and in our curriculum and kind of project where we would be in about a month and pull items that kids could do at home that are aligned with those curriculum pieces and the initiatives. I didn't want busy work. I didn't want, intricate word searches and coloring pages like maybe my own son has from his school. Not going to say where that is, but to make sure that it was pretty much what we would be doing if we were in the building, but to be able to be extended and have it done at home. So our K2 teachers worked with our curriculum director to get those packets going. And then we also talked about what our online piece would look like. And we are using Google Meets. And there is an hour each day that our teachers are online live providing instruction. And that's from K through 8. They split their time. Half of the time is ELA. The other half of the time is math. Science and social studies is integrated in those times as well. And then in middle school, it actually has its own dedicated time. But at that time, they are actually live teaching. The kids are logged in. You can see the kids can see the teacher, they can chat, they can unmute themselves and have conversations. So there's still face-to-face contact. So that happens each day for an hour. And then teachers are posting assignments on Google Classroom that kids are being asked to submit. They're getting homework. They are being assessed through Google Classroom as well. And then there is some other, paper pencil type tasks that people are doing. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of different strategies, but we feel as though that hour that is online and live has been the most effective. It's great for the kids to actually get to see one another and to see their teacher. It almost feels like you're in the classroom. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback from parents about that time as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Since your school serves students in kindergarten through grade 8, how do you differentiate instruction from your little kiddos to your middle schoolers? It seems like there's a great opportunity to do that in that hour block of direct instruction that you're still providing, but are there other areas of differentiation?
So for K2, we do not have one-to-one devices. So we felt as though the packet, if you will, was going to be the primary piece that we would be sending home with all of the kids and kind of making sure that they were making their way through it. We didn't want to include anything in there that parents felt burdened with having to teach their child new content. So there was some review work in there, and then there was some new work that was going to supplement the online instruction, but we didn't mandate, if you will, the online piece for K2. 3 through 8 does have one-to-one devices, so we were able to send every student home with their Chromebook, so we know that they had access. So that allows, all of them to be able to log on. And the way it's set up, because we are so diverse and we have such a large E&L population and students with special needs, our consultant teachers and our E&L teachers are co-teaching during that online hour with the classroom teacher. And then they also have a separate Google Classroom that kids are asked to go to for, if it's an E&L student, 36 minutes, which is what they would be getting. Or if it's a student with an IEP who gets 45 minutes of math instruction, they go into a little side room or a different Google Classroom and get their instruction one-on-one with their consultant teacher. So we made sure that to the best of our ability, mandates were being met. We're doing the same with other related services. Speech has an online classroom as well. So she's conducting sessions through the Google platform. OT is also doing that. So we really feel as though it's just changing our location, but it's business as usual for us.
That's incredible. And was it difficult for you to develop lesson plans for that individual one-on-one instruction? Or is that something that you did on the front end before students actually left the building?
It was something that we were proactive with. So we had asked our consultant teachers and our E&L teachers. We had that one day of planning, if you will, on that Monday before we actually went remote, to have our teachers working together for that entire day. So part of that day, they spent time working with IT just on technical issues. We had them do a simulated online class so they could experience it as if they were a student, so they could see what students would be doing. And then the rest of the day, we allowed our staff to co-plan together. Also on Wednesdays, I typically collect what we call learning targets. They're brief versions of their lesson plans. So that still continues, and that's shared with everybody so every teacher can see what each other is doing. And that also helps our consultant teachers and our E&L teachers to look at what grade levels are doing and then plan accordingly.
Thanks. So you mentioned that your grade 3 through 8 students have Chromebooks. Was it difficult to figure out the logistics to get them the Chromebooks? And what do you do about students who might not have internet access at home?
So the most difficult part was dismantling our Chromebook carts that we had because everything was wired in. So our wonderful IT department spent the entire weekend prior to this happening going in and taking everything apart. And then on that Monday, which was our planning day, we had pickup hours from 1 to 5:30. And we had asked one representative from each family to come in, sign for the Chromebook and the charger. We also printed out online or directions on how to access online in Google Classrooms. Most of the kids are well versed in it, but in case they weren't sure, we also gave parents a how-to. We had about 95% of our 3 through 8th graders come that day. And then throughout the week, as word started to spread actually from the kids about how amazing the online piece was, more and more kids were calling, hey, can I come get my Chromebook? So Liz Stearns, who is our finance and operation officer, was there helping with the food distribution as well. So she was able to catch any of those other kids that didn't get their Chromebooks and make sure that they left with them. In terms of not having internet access, we shared information. Everyone saw it probably on the news that Spectrum was offering free internet. So we were sharing that information to them. We were talking to them about how to possibly obtain a hotspot. It's something that we have noted for future in case something like this were to ever happen again, that we probably should have a plan in place prior to something happening on how do we get access to those kids that absolutely have no way. But we found that most of our kids either had access at their home or at a grandparent's house, or they had a phone that they could at least download some apps to. So we made contingent plans for those kids.
And just to circle back to the actual platform that students are using for online instruction, you keep talking about students liking the platform, and other than Google Hangouts, what does it actually look like for students? Are you using programming that you've bought? Is this something that the school itself has created? Can you talk a little bit about that? And I think in particular, how do you embed assessment into that platform?
So yes, so Google Classrooms and Google Meets are typically the way they're accessing the information, but what they're accessing is just what we were doing in our school. So it is we work with EL education for ELA instruction. So it is the modules, just like they would get if they were sitting in their classroom. It is the work that goes along with the modules. Teachers have to modify it a bit sometimes just to get it into a Google format. And then in terms of math, we have a hybrid math program that's a combination of Engage New York modules in Visions 2.0, and we've made it our own. So that's what they're using in terms of math. So the actual content that is being taught is what we would do any other day in the school. We haven't changed that. We have integrated some other online tools like Flipgrid, and some people are using YouTube videos that they're embedding. So it's really gotten crazy how many resources have been thrown in your inbox now to sort through. But I've told the teachers, keep it simple. Don't overwhelm yourselves or your students. Just basically teach as though you were in your classroom, but instead you're sitting at your kitchen table. And that, I think, seems to have been the best advice that we've given our staff is don't try to overcomplicate this. Don't try to, do too much. Just plan as you would if you were sitting in your classroom, but just do it from your home instead. And then assessment, we have been posting things on Google Classroom as assessment. We just have to give some leeway. Obviously you don't know what resources kids are using when they're taking an assessment at home. Are they looking things up? Do they have their parents sitting next to them helping them get the answers? So we're still assessing just so that kids know it's important to evaluate the work they're doing. But we will look at that data carefully and know that there might have been some modifications or some accommodations given when they were completing those.
And thanks for that advice about keeping it simple. I think that that's very important. in your normal school day, you would have how many hours of instruction when before the current crisis? I'm sorry?
About 7.
And then how many hours of instruction are students receiving now on
So
average?
right now, online, they are getting an hour with their teacher. Then if they are receiving any related service, they also get those minutes tacked on. And then there's about 2 to 2.5 hours other work that they are responsible for. So I'd say it's about half the time that they're doing, but that's also important that the other half of the time they're doing other things. They're staying connected with their friends, right? They're using the chat option. That it might not be academic in a sense, but it's also critical right now. They're getting outside and getting fresh air. So those are the things that we wanted to make sure we weren't filling up their entire day with sitting online. And I think that also helps when you honor their need for movement and flexibility, that they're more apt to log on and put forth effort in that short window versus, oh my goodness, I have school for 8 hours and I have to sit in front of my computer.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for other schools to take note of, that the instructional time being offered to students at West Buffalo, the academic instructional time, is not that different than what they'd receive in school. Some of the things like lunch and your electives like gym and perhaps even art are not part of their school day right now, but it seems like there's a really robust, comprehensive system of social emotional supports, as well as academic and for students with disabilities and English language learners, intervention supports, so that they can continue through progress through the work that you've laid out for the semester. And hopefully when you come back, they'll just hit the ground running with minimal interruption, which I think is fantastic. One of the things that I know is key to your academic intervention, your academic plan that you have right now, is one-on-one communication with staff and students. Can you tell us how that happens and why it's so important?
Sure. So, in addition to that online hour, each staff member has a 30-minute window, which we're calling office hours. And during that time, they are expected to be logged in to their Google Classroom, Google Meets. Also, we use ClassTag as a communication tool at the school too, and email. That those are their times that they are instantly connecting with family and kids. So it could be a question about an assignment. It could be, sharing another link to something, or sometimes it's just, hey, let's sit and have a snack together and just have a conversation for that 30 minutes. In addition to that, I've also asked the staff to personally pick up the phone and call at least 5 to 7 kids a day, just to check in, talk to them one-on-one on the phone, ask how they're doing, ask their families how they're doing. And um, also, I'm a big believer in leading by example. So I'm doing the same with the staff. So every morning I choose 10 staff members that I connect with via phone and just ask how they're holding up. Do they need anything? How their families are doing? Now this is the part where I get emotional, because I think in all of this, we're realizing how much we need one another, and we need that contact with one another. And just a simple hello sometimes can make someone's day turn around. So it's extremely important to do. And also, you had mentioned earlier about gym and art and what some schools call specials. We call them curriculum extension. I have to give a shout out to our team too. They're logging on too. We have a curriculum extension hour from 3 to 4 every day, and they do art lessons and they're doing PE lessons. And the other day, my son participated and was playing tag in the kitchen with a bunch of kids. And they're also doing office hours too and reaching out to some kids. And it's amazing to see who's seeking that contact. And some kids, that really are just sitting at home, really missing their teacher, to know that they have 30 minutes where they can log on and just be like, hey, Mrs. Toro, it's my birthday today. And we all sing happy birthday. And it kind of keeps it normal as we can right now.
Yeah, and it seems like there's such a rich offering of supports and programming for students, and it sounds very robust. and really filling of children's day. I think that's particularly important as they're home and they could be in front of the TV, but rather they're really engaged in that West Buffalo community. And it really does seem to extend not only to students and their families, but to staff as well. Talking about staff, can you outline a little bit what your support staff are doing now? So you're the person who would normally greet people at your front door or answer the phones, or you mentioned Liz Stern, who is a fantastic finance and operations director. What are your support staff doing to help support the school during this difficult time?
So it really is a team effort to run a school away from schools. So we met prior to the closure and kind of asked the support staff, what do you think you could accomplish if you weren't here? What are some tasks that you could be doing? So our receptionist has all the calls from the school being forwarded to her cell phone. So her cell phone rings just as if she were sitting at her desk, and she's able to manage the phones and forward voicemails. She stops once a week to pick up the mail and sort it. We have other staff members working on cleaning up some e-school files. It's report card week. So we have staff right now that's working on uploading all the report cards to our portal. So everyone was kind of diligently given a task that suited what they do on a normal basis, and just things that were important to keep the school going. Our admin team, so we've divided and conquered who's logging in each day to the online lessons. So each day that a lesson is taking place, K2, Rachel Banis is logged on, watching all of those lessons. 3-5, Lauren Lyshek's on. 6-8, Mr. Siddall is on. I'm popping in and out of them. And then Mrs. Stearns is running the business side of the house. I mean, that doesn't end just because you're in school. She's paying bills and doing
Absolutely.
payroll, and has been on site managing the food service, working with BPS to make sure the food is going out. So, everybody's really, really busy, even though you think you're home and it was going to be less busy. It's actually more busy.
Absolutely. It's very strange. BPS, which is Buffalo Public Schools, for those who are outside of Buffalo. Can you talk a little bit about how you've collaborated with your district, and in particularly the Committee on Special Education? What's that relationship been like, as they too have transitioned from a brick and mortar operation to remote learning?
Yeah, so I think it's just like everything in this crisis right now. People are figuring it out as you go. None of us have a plan book for this. None of us in administration or in special ed, took a disaster planning course. And how do you respond if that happens? We all have safety plans, but I don't know anyone that has a COVID-19 section in their safety plan. So it's been kind of working with these other departments of what information are they receiving from state ed or from the federal government? What are we doing that's aligned? So it's just been ongoing dialogue and conversation of, where are you at? Okay, that makes sense. We received updates. We're on a listserv now from Buffalo Public Schools, so they send us their updates weekly, which is helpful. Our special ed coordinator has worked with the special ed team. Right now, everything's on hold. So we're kind of at the mercy of, when they want to initiate meetings or when they want to start doing things. So it's just constantly checking in and making sure that we're all on the same page. And also from our end, being proactive and letting them know this is what we're doing in terms of keeping our services rolling for our kids. This is what our plan is, and keeping a list of, who had meetings coming up that now got pushed back so that nobody falls through the cracks. But it's really a time to just have open dialogue, and everyone's doing the best they can. I mean, as frustrating as it is sometimes that you want answers immediately, it's a trickle down effect. You have to wait from the top to make up the policy or the reg change, and then it's got to filter its way through us. So it's really a test in patience right now.
Absolutely. And I do want to give West Buffalo a shout out. I think even beyond this crisis, prior to it, West Buffalo really is a school that doesn't wait until the mandates come down from on high to the school, but they really are proactive in reaching out to the district. If there are questions, not being afraid to send an email or make a phone call. And I really do encourage other schools to be proactive with their districts, understanding that they too are are navigating through these unknown waters, but that it really does take a team effort. And if you're not in communication with your district, then I think that's on you as a school if you don't receive any information. But I'm glad that you are collaborating with them and that there is that flow of ideas and information. So that's great. I want to shift back to talking a little bit about parents and students and teachers. So we spoke about your plan and the supports that you've put in place. What has been your general response from parents and students and teachers? Have they provided you with feedback? Have they reacted to the incredible supports that you have and that your team have put into place?
Honestly, the parents and the teachers have been phenomenal in this entire thing. Not one complaint from a teacher. When we met in those small groups and talked about what this online piece was going to look like and what that meant for them, I also rolled out like what their daily professional duties would be. That this wasn't a really long extended snow day where you were going to be in your cozy pajamas, not working all the time. And I was very honest and upfront with them that there was an expectation that life would go on and that we're not going to miss a beat. And they have all risen to the challenge. They've been amazing. I mean, some people are more apt to using online platforms than others, and some it's a little bit of a learning curve, but they're
Mhm.
getting there. And I think it just speaks volumes for how much they truly care about their kids. And they know that this is important for them to have some type of normal routine. And on those days where you might be frustrated with downloading something, or how do I make this activity fit Google? How do I upload this? They're doing it for their students, and that I mean, I'm so incredibly proud of them. The first day when the plan actually had to be enacted and everybody was logged on, I actually had to turn my camera off because I was ugly crying watching all of them. They had, turned their kitchens into classrooms, and it was as if you were looking into a classroom of West Buffalo. They had their calendars up, and they had the weather bear up in the corner. In the upper grades, they brought home their easels and their teacher chairs. Like it really did look like you were in the school. And I think parents too, like I said, they knew we had a plan. They trusted that our plan was going to meet the needs of their children. And we have gotten so many messages, Facebook posts, emails, text, phone calls from people just in thanking us in this crazy situation we're in, that their kids aren't missing a beat, and they're incredibly thankful for it. So it's been really powerful.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So in the last few minutes that we have, what have been some lessons learned regarding the implementation of your school's plan? Is there anything that you would have done differently?
Well, the first thing I would have said would be never ask what else could happen in a school year. So we've had some interesting events this year, and one for the record books. Never did I think this was going to be something. So first lesson, don't say that out loud because you never know what you can get as an answer. Going back to what I talked about with K2, kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of access for those younger kids. What's our plan maybe moving forward for devices for them, so that in the event this were to happen again or some other issue keeps us out of school for an extended period, how do we get devices in their hands? We do have a lot of siblings, so it has been nice that some of the 3 through 8 graders have younger siblings, so they are sharing their devices with them. And it's cute to watch them sit in on each other's lessons too. You see an 8th grader sitting with their kindergarten sibling doing sight words. It's really kind of touching. So one would be, just what's our plan in terms of devices? What's our plan, in those cases that they don't have internet access? Should we be getting hotspots that we keep at the school that we can divvy out should we need them? And I think the other lessons learned would be from a leader standpoint, just to always remember that how we're doing things has changed, but why we do the things we do hasn't. And that, and the root of all this chaos and waiting for answers or what's coming next or when are we going to be back in the building, we have students and students' families that we're responsible for, and that always has to be at the forefront of every decision we make. What's in the best interest of them? So it's really solidified. It's always been my thought: students first, do what's best for them. But this time, and maybe the little extra time that you have to do some thinking, has really solidified the fact that the why has never changed. It's for our kids.
Well said. Well, Andrea, thank you for sharing what's happening at West Buffalo Charter School. We hope this is helpful for other school leaders. Is there anything you want to add before we end?
No, I just, to any of my colleagues, if you have questions or want to know something more about what we're doing, feel free to reach out to me. If you go to our website, you'll find my email there, or some of you may already have my contact information. I mean, we're all in this together. This is not the time to, be bickering or to try to feel like you're one-upping somebody. This is the time to come together and work together and collaborate, and put all that other stuff aside, because like I said, in reality, it's all about the students that we're responsible for.
Well said. And your website is westbuffalocharter.org. So if anyone is interested in seeing the great work that they're doing at the West Buffalo Charter School, it's westbuffalocharter.org. Well, Andrea, thank you so much. I look forward to staying in touch and seeing the great work that you continue to do throughout the school year. For anyone who's interested in learning more, visit our website at the New York State Education Department, which is p12.nysed.gov/PSC. Thank you, and take care, and we wish everyone the best. Bye-bye.